weather forecasting service. And that's an important one to look at as far as I'm concerned, particularly since it is part of their responsibility. Anyway, make a long story short, uh, we're looking, almost everybody is looking at leaving tomorrow. And we have not changed the forecast for the last 3 days, which is good to say. And it's starting off with southwest winds about 25 knots. This is area Brett. Again, this is covering from the Marsden area all the way up to North Cape. So that includes Apua and all points in between all of those. So that's good. And that's expected to ease as the day rolls on tomorrow to southerly 15 knots. The rough seas that are out there, and they are rough seas out there, those are expected to ease as well. And the northeast swell, which has been present for a while, that is looking like 2 meters and easing as well. And I would expect that we will see some showers, particularly in the morning, and that's pretty much what Met Service is saying as well. Okay, so now the trip north, and we are looking. Most of the boats are apparently going to the Fiji area, some New Caledonia, some Vanuatu, some Tonga, and so forth and so on. So from what I can see, your trip for the next 5 days, right through Wednesday at least, you're going to have very, very favorable winds, in my opinion. So you should have quite a lovely sail. Uh, some of the winds may be a little bit behind you, and a lot of boats don't particularly like that, or the people on the boats don't particularly like that. The boat doesn't care. So that's looking pretty good. Now, those of you that are going to Minerva or thinking about going to Minerva, you should be there around the Wednesday time frame, which Wednesday is what, about 17th, I think it is. And the reason we have been suggesting that you more or less aim for the Minerva area is the simple reason that the weather has been changing, quite consistently changing, and not necessarily for the better. However, now, from what I looked at last night, I looked at all of it again this morning, and I've just finished looking at it now, which was in the last half hour. So between BOM, the Australians, between GFS, the Americans, and between EC, which is the European model, all pretty much in agreement. Not exactly, but you wouldn't expect that. So that is looking very, very good. Now, there is a low pressure area. All of you that have been getting your grids know that is what has been forecast, and that's been forecast now for the last, well, almost a week, really. But there's a low pressure area that is going to develop and develop rather strongly in the mid Tasman, and that'll be between New Zealand, between say Cape Reinga and west to Sydney, almost smack in the middle. And it's going to extend the frontal band from that point all the way up to the Coral Sea, just about reaching New Caledonia. And this would be about breakfast time on Thursday, so late Wednesday into Thursday. So those of you that do choose to go to Minerva and stay in Minerva, that should work out very well for you. Now, the concern that I had was picking up a low pressure zone, a low pressure development area that appeared to be forming just south of Fiji, and that did not look good at all. This was in the Thursday, Friday time frame. What I think is going to happen in reality, unless things change, is that that low that we talked about in the Tasman, that is going to be more or less in the center of the Tasman, almost dead between Cape Reinga and Sydney. The frontal band is got a big curve to it, so it's going to curve around, uh, take over the northern part of the North Island, and then extend all the way up toward Fiji, sort of between Fiji and Vanuatu. And that means the winds are going to be roughly northerly quadrant from Fiji down to, say, 2025 south. So, for those boats that are going to attempt to make the run directly up, whether you do a little bit of easting and then arc around, it still looks like you may encounter those winds. Now, that may not happen. The way things have been, it's really hard to tell if that will be the case. Now, there is support, certainly big support, for the surface depression at 500 millibar, and that's been pretty consistent now for the last 3 or 4 days that I've been looking at. So, no doubt in my mind that it's going to happen. You will have a frontal band, and you will have northerly quadrant winds. Now, the really, really fast boats can quite possibly make it from New Zealand up to Fiji without a great deal of difficulty. They may encounter these northerly quadrant winds, but a little bit of tacking here and there. You may be able to make it up there without too much trouble. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to play it safe, or if you want to be a little bit more comfortable, you may choose to hop into Minerva, whether it be South Minerva or North Minerva, and then await that frontal band to pass you by. And then behind that is going to be an anticyclone, a nice high that's developing, and that's going to provide nice southerly quadrant winds on its eastern side, just a normal setup. So that's what we're looking at. In fact, I would say that in the Minerva area, come Friday, we're looking at probably northeast winds gusting up to 30 knots, maybe even 35 knots. But yeah, but if you were in there, you would certainly be safe and sound if you anchored properly. And believe me, that's a very good place to be in stronger winds. Boats have certainly been there in actually hurricane force winds quite successfully. Very good holding in there. So that's the story as we see it now. Good luck to all of you that are going. Now we'll be every night looking at this, taking a gander at what changes, if any, are going to occur. Maybe quite possible that a direct run line straight up to Fiji may be okay. Possibly the northerly quadrant winds may not be as bad as it appears to be now. And I can assure you, we have seen the weather changes quite frequently over the last years that we've been doing this. So, not much else to say other than you have your choices. I would, if it were Camellia and our boat, we're 78 years old. We're not exactly spring chickens anymore. So our choice would be to put in a fair amount of easting. We would head toward Minerva. More than likely, we would pop into Minerva, but that doesn't mean that you would have to do that. But the idea is, if you do head toward Minerva, as if you were going to pop in and anchor, and the weather does change, nothing much is lost except maybe half a day. So, really, there's not much to talk about more than that. I mean, it's a pretty safe thing to do. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to the chief. You folks, if you have any questions, come now. Again, emails are available, obviously. So if you wish to communicate that way, that's all right as well. So that's it. That's it from me. Good luck on all 100 of you or thereabouts, and keep a good watch. It sounds like it's going to be pretty crowded out there. So here's the chief.
And apologies for those that started on streaming and found that we had unfortunately tripped over the cord for the first few minutes, but I didn't have an awful lot to say, except that greetings to Not Tied Down. I know, Bill, you'll have a keen follower. Bill is on Not Tied Down, usually on Liberation, and I think he's going to get rather excited about going 9.3 knots on course of 017. Which is a little bit faster than Liberation generally goes. The boats are being led by Laura Dawn, who left this morning and is now up at 3425, really going rather fast. So there are some very fast boats out there leading the way, but some of you will be playing it carefully. And Laura Dawn is, let me see, their speed was, oh no, that's Ikamoana, is 7.1. Yes, they're a little bit spread out. There's 3 boats way ahead. Laura Dawn, as I mentioned, doing 8.5 at the moment, with Fenice right beside, and not too far back there's New Zealand boat Tawaho, probably pronounced differently. Then there's a bit of a gap with some boats streaking off towards Minerva, Iki Moana, and a boat called Motu, and another one quite close by. They've got 30 knots beside them. Mintaka, a very good evening to Mintaka. So I'm just going to see if there's anybody has wanted to check in, probably still finding their feet at this stage, but is there anybody wanting to check in? Please call.
Shoot.
This is Laura Dawn. We are here.
Well, I've been following you, Laura Dawn, and you certainly are leading the bunch. Quite a responsible position. Give me your actual weather conditions, over.
We're about 45 miles off the coast. We're 35 to 40 knots and large confused sea.
Okay, for those that didn't hear Laura Dawn, 35 to 40 knots of the southwest wind and large confused seas. I'm surprised you can get on the radio, over.
A bit green, over.
Oh, well, green like the kiwi fruit. Well, I tell you what, you'll probably be pleased at the end, because things will settle down and you will be a bit further ahead. But boy, thank you for coming on and letting us know what the conditions are like. So it would appear that GFS are well, right direction, but 35 to 40. They're only showing 30. Comment from David.
Yeah, thank you again. And by the way, if you're able to during this evening net, if you can come on to a frequency and give us your conditions, it's really quite important to me, because I do jot them down and I do compare them with the various models, and it's very, very helpful to see how the models are doing compared to the actual conditions. So again, very important to me. I realize it's some effort on your behalf, but
In these conditions.
I really do appreciate it, and it's yeah, no, that's it. Here's the chief.
Want the update, Dave?
Well, about now for the update. Yeah, now is good actually. So yes, if that would be excellent, or if you're going to send in an email, just jot the time down, because that would be, it's UTC time now anyway. So yeah, time is important. Over.
Roger, that was me, Laura Dawn, just confirming time, so I'll give the same update tomorrow.
Yep, thank you very much. Yeah, I have to. I've got a what we call short skip at the moment, so I have to turn down the volume for the boats because otherwise I hear my own voice back again. So thank you for that. That would be great. And your name is over.
My name is Nick. Over.
Nick. Over. Thank you very much. All right, and let me see. I was just seeing if Mintaka were on frequency. Mintaka. Nothing heard there, and they are doing 5.1 on a course of 033, and they're at 34 degrees 46 and 17432. And a hello from David on Anahata. We've actually got one of David's beautiful pictures in our room here. So good evening, David. I wonder, at Kissing Point. Kissing Point, yeah. All right, is there anybody else? And don't forget, if anybody is listening on the streaming, you are more than welcome to send a comment to anybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, and listening again before we close it down.
Gulf Harbour Radio, Gulf Harbour Radio, Gulf Harbour Radio. This is Cabana. Do copy.
Very good copy on you, Cabana. Go ahead.
Lovely to hear you again. We just left Oakua today at about midday. I'll give you my position. I'm at 34 degrees 23 south. I repeat, 34 degrees 23 south. 174 degrees 418. You copy that?
Yeah, I'll be copying you actually better than you'll copy me because I'm receiving from the antenna at Cayo and transmitting from here, which you might have a struggle with. So I have Cabana at 3423 and 17441, and I'll be interested to hear your conditions. Over.
Yeah, Roger, I'm copying you very clearly. And we've had, at the moment, we've got 30 knots of true breeze. And we're very comfortable. The last couple of hours it's been a bit variable, getting a bit higher than that. And few seas up to about 3 or 4 metres out. But it seems to be moderating now, and we're very comfortable. Over?
I think your idea of comfort and mine might be a little different with the confused seas of 3 to 4 metres, but it's good that things are moderating, both the wind and the seas by the sound of it. So all those that want to get away promptly in the morning will be very happy to hear that. How many on board, Cabana? Over.
We've got 3 people on board and all very comfortable, headed to Minerva Reef, like a lot of other boats on this trip. But we've been doing 9-10 knots most of the day, so we're making good progress. Over.
Oh my goodness, that is good progress, 9 to 10 knots. Oh well, we people on old slow boats are somewhat envious of that. What boat is Cabana? Over.
Yeah, we're a Lagoon 450, so we're not normally that fast, but there's flowy conditions suit up. Got a triple reef main, about half our heads allowed, and just after the beam, so it's kind of ideal for our pilots, these conditions.
Yes, I'm sure it is. I didn't see too many catamarans left today, so I wondered how you'd go in those seas. So it sounds pretty good. Certainly 9 to 10 knots is certainly very acceptable, especially as it's now pretty comfortable. All right, and your name, and then I'll leave you in peace. Over.
Yeah, Roger, I'm George, and it's great to hear your voice, and we'll probably come back around about the same time on the skip tomorrow. Over.
Roger that. So we'll, if we don't hear you, we'll give you a call. And we are on, by the way, everybody, 7 days while we get through this rush of passage makers. So we won't be stopping for a weekend. Not that once you're away, a weekend means anything, does it? So just as well, we're on 7 days a week. Okay, is there anybody else wanting to check in? Okay, nothing heard. I will briefly go to 8297 and then we'll leave you in peace and be back tomorrow. If any questions weather-wise, just let us know on the email ghradio@extra.co.nz or just exercise your fingers on the microphone. Cheers, everybody. Have a good night, especially those folk dealing with the seas and the wind out there. This is Gulf Harbour Radio clear and switching to 8297. I might actually turn off the streaming because they don't need